Okay, everyone, some news has come out around Raheem Sterling. I thought it was actually worth talking about because Sterling came in on deadline day. He was a signing from Chelsea. We know a loan signing that, we've done this kind of deal with Chelsea before, picking up a player that, they're not keen on having anymore. Sometimes it's gone better than others. This was one we hoped for it going really well, particularly because we hadn't done the business we needed to do in terms of spending big money on the front line, and we needed depth, especially for a player like Bukayo Saka. But Sterling has not only not been that kind of difference maker that we, and I stress the word hoped he could be, but he's not even really been the squad player we hoped he could be. It's been a really, really disappointing loan spell. Now, the news coming out from the Standard, and forgive me 1 second, I'll just get it up, is from... Yeah, Simon Collins, saying that Raheem Sterling has made a general decision over future after Mikel Arteta admission, and that he has apparently no plans to cut short his loan at Arsenal and seek more regular football elsewhere in the January transfer window, despite his lack of action under Mikel Arteta. Now, we know there's been a total lack of football for him, to the point where actually even those who weren't really particular fans of this signing have said, well, look, things aren't going well whatsoever for Trossard and Martinelli. You may as well give this guy a run just to try something different. So obviously with the Carabao Cup tomorrow, you kind of think that's an opportunity for Sterling to play, and it's against Premier League opposition. So it's actually sort of timed itself quite nicely in terms of that opportunity for Raheem. But let's talk about the deal in general and why I've been so disappointed about it, and actually what him staying means, and kind of what this mini update, I don't know, can mean for the January transfer window in general for Arsenal. I mean, when we signed him, I just always retain this perhaps delusional belief that, the whole saying form is temporary, class is permanent. I mean, that's true, but there's more to class, right? There is physicality, there's fitness, there's motivation, there's all these things. But I didn't believe that at 29, 30 years old, Raheem Sterling was no longer a, more than usable squad player in the Premier League at the level that we're at. And I mean usable squad player. I'm talking at a level that he could play against, basically the bottom 10, let's say, all at home, maybe some away games, and do a job that he couldn't come on in games where we needed to chase a goal, especially as we play with touchline wingers and we play with wingers that need to show their pace. Sterling actually felt like someone who, could do something for Arsenal as a loan deal. It kind of made sense because you're getting the experience too. And we know the rest. We know all the points why Arsenal fans, including me, try to sort of justify this signing. But the use of him by Mikel Arteta has been staggeringly low. And it's actually got worse and worse, because he did start him on the final. When was it? He started him the game against... Not final, sorry, I'm confusing my words. He started him in the game against Southampton in a 3-1 win. And he wasn't great. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. And he's sort of been, started the Carabao Cup game, started the Bournemouth game away from home, but he was taken off when we got an injury. We got the red card to Saliba. He was kind of the first player sacrificed in that situation. And then we've chased games and goals against Newcastle, against Inter Milan, against, this weekend against Everton just gone. Trying to think against Fulham. Yeah, against Fulham as well. And Sterling was never looked to. Arteta never turned to him. Even when it felt like he got his most desperate on the weekend, Sterling wasn't a player he turned to. So it went from, could he even be our best left winger if he rediscovers his form, to he can be a really good rotational squad player and certainly a backup for Saka, to, well, okay, maybe if you're really desperate, use him, to now all those three options are gone. So what are we doing with this deal? What are we doing here? So for that reason, I'm slightly surprised that a report's come out basically, reaffirming the position that he's not going to be going back in January to Chelsea or cutting his loan short, and he wants to make it work at Arsenal. Now, what does this mean from Sterling's perspective? Why would he want to make it work at Arsenal? Well, because I don't think there's been a fallout with Arteta. I don't think Raheem, is an arrogant or delusional bloke in any way. I've never met him. But I don't think in any way he's thinking that, he's really deserving of loads and loads of football at Arsenal, because he hasn't rediscovered his football for a long time. And ultimately there are players like Trossard, what he did in the run-in, and Martinelli, who, okay, is off form, but we know the heights he has hit at Arsenal. There are players there that I think Mikel quite clearly trusts and wants to persist with a little bit. Bukayo Saka, when fit, plays, and I think Sterling probably recognises that and is, willing to bide his time a little bit. Now, we're almost halfway through the season, and I think that's fine for now. But I do wonder whether he's maybe got to a point where it's he came in and his words were, you're going to see the best of me. And you can't even really mock that, to be honest, because we haven't seen the best of him, but I can't even really say that's his fault. Okay, maybe in terms of behind the scenes, the way he's training, if he's not getting to the level, if the fitness isn't there, whatever, I'm just making up scenarios, then maybe, okay, you do say that is his fault and Arteta's got his reasons for not playing him. But I think he's used him so unbelievably sparingly, so little, that you almost just think it's getting to a point where this is like a complete mockery of a sign, to the point where you're almost like, Mikel, like, were you just given this player and now out of pure, like, making a point to the hierarchy, are you trying to be like, I'm not going to use him? Like, thanks, but I didn't want him. Like, is that what that's about? But they've always had a really good relationship and a good understanding, Mikel and Raheem. Certainly, that's what the reports have always said. Mikel has always spoken really highly of him. So you would think that he could have turned to him a little bit more than he has. But he wants to stay and see it out. And look, fair enough, fair play. I think Arteta. Look, I don't know what level Raheem Sterling's showing in training, and I don't know how Arteta's rating him as a player today, because we're just not seeing enough of him to know. But there is something that just tells me that, you know, when we're in the situation we're in, and I don't think we're adding at best more than one player this January, and to be honest, I don't even think we're adding one. You look at your squad, and the reality is, everyone, like, we're in this sinking ship. Okay, we are here. We have to do something about it. You can't. I said this. I was chatting to Sharoy and Jack last night, and I was saying to them, like, we're doing a podcast, and I was saying, like, look, you can't just. It's not Football Manager. You can't just quit and restart the season and just right your wrongs and go again. We are in the thick of a season. We've got the Carabao Cup quarter-final tomorrow. I want to win and get to a cup semi-final. We're actually doing more than okay in the Champions League. We're really holding our own there, navigating that league system way better than some of the European giants have been. And then there's the FA Cup at home to Man United. Difficult draw, but it's a home tie. You know, the Premier League, for all our terrible kind of missed opportunities that we've had recently, you know, there is still, though I don't think we can catch Liverpool, there is still a chase to be had if we can deliver some momentum. So, an alarm's just gone off. Forgive me for that. Something to do with me. So with the situation we're in, we've got to look internally and go, well, who can give us more? What can we do to change this? How can we be inventive within us? When we went through our bad patch last season, Kai Havertz, that so many people wrote off, was moved more to the striker position, away from the left eight, and boom, like it clicked for him. He started to score goals. He started to give us the player something closer to what Mikel Arteta saw in him and why he spent their money on him. Now, can you tweak the system? Can you do something? Can you get Sterling, you know, in that side and try get something out of him, whether it be more in the pockets or as a touchline winger? Can we do something different with our fullbacks? Can you get Waneri and Ødegaard as 2/8s with Rice behind them? I don't know. I'm making things up here. Could you get Sterling in the false nine? Listen, I'm not saying I like these ideas, but what I'm saying is, last season we drifted away. We adapted something new tactically. And what it did was players that we had real doubts about, it reinvigorated them a little bit. And that was really good for the second half of last season. And it was a short-term fix. Unfortunately, we didn't recognise that. We thought it was more of a medium to long-term solution. And we didn't do the business in the summer we should have to actually rectify the real problems that we still had that ultimately cost us the title because of those poor runs of forms and those results and stuff. So here I am looking at this game. And I'm thinking... Sorry, this game. I'm looking at this season. I'm looking at this situation we're in. And I think a January window signing maybe, but ultimately trying to do something different with your team might reinvigorate us enough to lift some silverware and do something this season. And then in the summers, when you really address these problems properly, then of course I'd love them addressed in January. And Raheem Sterling, and I can't believe I'm saying this because a lot of you will think, oh my word, James, like, give up. Like, Arteta's made his position very clear, and when he's played, he's not looked that great. So, you know, just shut up, James. And I hear that, but we can't just give up on, you know, we're playing badly. And actually, sometimes it's easier to turn to the ones that haven't been involved in the fact that we're playing badly. And Sterling hasn't been involved at all. So can we get more out of him? He wants to stay. He's not going anywhere. I don't think Arsenal are cutting the loan short. So try and get something out of this signing. And I don't know. I feel like that ultimately comes with minutes on the pitch. Something always tells me as well that ultimately You can do, this and that in training, whatever, but it's what you give in game ultimately. And we haven't really seen Sterling be given that opportunity enough, but there's probably a reason for that too. So I'm a bit conflicted. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to know a couple of things. What position would you target this January transfer window as your priority position? Do you think Raheem Sterling deserves a chance, a start against Palace, a run of games perhaps in the Premier League as well, to try and make a left wing position that hasn't been owned by anyone, to try and make it his own really? Or do you think that this was a complete waste and actually Mikel Arteta's sort of acting out a little bit and telling people, look, I didn't want this guy. I'm going to make that very clear to you all. I don't think it's quite that. He has said, I've got a quote here, let me just touch on it really quickly. He says, when he hasn't started the games, 90% of the subs that I make is related to saving minutes or because of injuries or avoiding injuries. It's not tactical reasons. So he's basically tried to say there, Mikel, that look, my hand's been forced with certain subs, and maybe alluding to the fact that he wished he could have played Sterling more, but I'm not so sure about that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We're going to round off all there, people. Hope you enjoyed this video and this quick catch up on the Sterling stuff and the latest news that he wants to stay beyond January. I'd love to know your thoughts. Catch you in a bit.